guys, welcome back to Olivia's Blooms. I am sitting here on my driveway doing a little flower fall project that I was inspired by one of our local garden centers, Snow's Garden Center. And so what I'm going to be making today is a little pumpkin planter, and I am just using a very small pumpkin. You can use a bigger pumpkin. You really want, I think, more of a flat shape for these, although you might be able to get away with doing a taller one, but I'm going to be using this guy today. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be staking this plastic little pot on top. We're going to be putting potting soil in there and filling it with pansies, and I'm going to be wrapping this pot in burlap and then going to try and decorate it so that you don't see that it's a plastic pot, so it just looks like sort of a pumpkin with little flowers coming out of the top. And I was thinking, I had these, I think these are actually trays for underneath pots, but this is a great way to recycle water cartons or milk cartons. If you have bigger ones, you could just cut them out to this shape, this size, and you can cut them to match your pumpkin. So this one just happened to match really well, but if you had a bigger pumpkin with a wider base, you could cut your plastic pot to the right size, and this is a great activity for kids too, so I'm hoping my kids will come do some of these with me. So the first step I'm going to do is, this one doesn't have much of a stem, but let me grab my snips. I'm going to cut off just as much of this stem as I can so that it's not sticking up into the pot. And then I just took a piece of, this is wide weave burlap because it happens to be what I had. Not necessarily the best, I mean you could see right through it, but I just like the look of kind of the burlap, and I am just wrapping it around the pot like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 garden stakes. What did I do with my garden stakes? Okay. And then I'm going to take the garden stakes and I'm going to stake them into the pumpkin. I'm going to tip you down so you can watch me do this a little bit better. Alright, so hopefully you can see this now. So I have my burlap wrapped little pot. You could also use pots that your plants come with. You might need to cut them down a little bit because you don't want it to be too tall. A great way to just recycle materials. I'm trying to make this as plastic free as I can, or at least recycle plastic. And I'm just pressing this down into the pumpkin. Some are easier than others. You might have to use a little muscle or elbow grease. Alright, so that one's in. And these are just your typical garden stakes. Now, I don't have those pressed all the way in yet, and I think that's okay. I'm going to plant the flowers around them. So next I have just some regular potting soil, and I'm not going to be putting any fertilizer or anything in here. I am going to be using some cold hardy flowers, some pansies, and maybe some kale, or ornamental kale, because I'd like these to last a long time. They are going to be outside because these flowers are going to need direct sun. And then just sort of tucking in the burlap with the soil. I'm only putting a little bit of soil in here because I'm going to pack this full of pansies. Okay, just up the sides here. And then I'm going to plant this up now because I don't want the dirt falling on the sides while I'm decorating it. So I've got just some random, these were the sad little pansies left over at my local garden center, but I don't mind. I think they're going to perk up once they get in here. I think for this pumpkin I'm going to do maybe a purple. A couple purples and a couple oranges. Loosening up the root ball here. There's purple, and I have a couple of these little oranges. I think I'll put one on each side. You want to make sure the root balls are completely surrounded by soil. And then I probably didn't even need to buy potting soil because there was so much in this container. Probably could have just used what was in here. That's all right. All right, I'm gonna put that one in there. Now, this is cute. You could just leave it like this if you want. I think that's adorable. But I'm gonna decorate it a little bit. So you could decorate this with dried flowers, with moss. And I might even put some moss around because I sort of want it to look like a little woodland planter. So let me move you guys back so you can see what I'm gonna do here. All right, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take some branches, and now in an ideal world, I will do this without glue, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. But we can certainly try. I'd love to be able to do this without hot glue. Now, hot glue certainly makes it easier, especially if you've got little kids. Some of these are going to be too big, I think, to get through the wide weave burlap, so I might have to glue these. Let's see if I can find some thinner ones. You could use, these are pine cones I found in the woods. You could use any kind of decoration really that you want, and I'll show you another one I did earlier. Next, I'm going to tuck some moss in. And I think that's really going to give it this woodsy feel and sort of tidy it all up so you don't see so many of these holes. Oh, that's just beautiful. You guys see that? I think that's just gorgeous. I'm not even gluing this in. I'm really just tucking it around. Trying to hide some of those rough edges. And oh, this is just so pretty. Love it. Now you can certainly leave the burlap as is. You don't need to add any embellishments. I just wanted to use some of the beautiful things that we had around our yard and our garden. Now I did, one thing I should mention is I moistened the soil before so that I didn't have to water it, but you'll want to water these every so often. But here is the final product, and I just think it's so cute, beautiful. Now if you want to, you can cover all of the burlap with the moss. I just did the little top here. I think it's beautiful just like that. And I'm going to go set it out in my front yard, and I'll show you the other one we did. Alright, so here's a final look at our little pumpkin planter. Now this is definitely a more wild and woodsy look. You can certainly make it a lot cleaner looking if you want. And here's a look at the other one I made earlier. This is much simpler and still beautiful. You'll see just the burlap itself is, I think, pretty. And I only embellished it with a few dried flowers. So such a fun and easy project to do. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you had as much fun gardening as I did.